Watch this.
Boise's new police chief has been on the job just a couple of days after it took more than a year to find him. New to town and new to you, we find out how he expects to police Idaho's largest city. Speaking of taking on big projects, they say altitude sickness kicks in around 11,000 feet. Well, one Idahoan knows that all too well, like 115 times too well. We're meeting one of the 11ers.
A group of really tight-knit guys that run together, but also are, really close friends.
And they come up with some really odd ideas for team photos. The latest edition of one of the most well-known cross-country teams in the country includes two more boys from Boise who hope they're not just a bunch of posers. It took a little more than 12 months and paring the candidate pool from 20, but the Boise Police Department now has a new leader. Chief Chris Dennison was actually selected nearly 2 months ago. He was sworn in nearly a month ago, but today was just his second day on the job. And Abby Davis sat down with Chief Dennison this morning after his first day. And Abby, the question is, he comes to Boise from Tucson, so how does he find out about this job?
Well, he actually got an email from a national law enforcement think tank. That's what he told me earlier today. Normally he ignores those, but he said something about Boise really stood out to him. He says that he is ready to get to work and take charge of the agency that's gotten some heat recently. Here are a couple of snippets from our conversation about his top priorities.
Officer wellness is, and employee wellness, not just officer wellness, but employee wellness is going to be a huge component of that. There is so much trust that is given to the police department to keep the community safe, and making sure that we're taking care of those that are tasked with taking care of the community is important. I really like to say that healthy people help people, hurt people hurt people.
BPD has been under a microscope in recent years. What would you tell people who have lost faith in the agency?
That you have tremendous men and women that come in here every day and are dedicated to the mission of serving the community.
Dennison says he's determined to make sure the department can keep up with growth in the area. That looks like having enough resources to deal with certain issues, including traffic. I also asked about his plans to try to decrease the number of police shootings in the city, and Brian will have his answer coming up here shortly on the news at 6.
Okay, so police shootings would be one of the external issues that the department is facing now.
Yeah.
But in recent years, there have been some internal problems that have surfaced. One that resulted in BPD recommendations getting from, I guess, about a year about how it hires and promotes people from within. So how did he say he was going to deal with this kind of stuff?
Yeah, I asked him that question. He said, of course, he's brand new and he's still trying to get up to speed about BPD's policies, procedures, read all of those. And he says also, as well as get up to speed about BPD's history. And he says that he will work with the command team, city leadership, as well as the union to make sure that that the department is the best department as possible. But again, he didn't really answer that fully.
Okay, so did you look into like the comparison between Tucson, the size of Tucson's department versus Boise? Like how much out of his element is he getting into here?
Yeah, not specifically the size, but he said that in his opinion that he is very well equipped for this position because he was there for several decades, and that he says that he will take that experience and really apply it to this new challenge as chief.
All right, we'll see how that works.
Yeah.
Thanks, Abby. Well, a police chase ended with an officer injured and a canine officer dead over the weekend. Abby Wilt tells us what happened, along with other 2-8 news in today's 411.
Would allow anyone to love on him.
Nampa police lost one of their own Saturday night after a beloved K-9 officer was killed during a police chase in Nampa. Stephanie Ketterman and Tanner Howe are now in the Canyon County Jail after the chase. Police say they got a tip Howe was going to sell drugs. They tried to pull him over, but Ketterman crashed into the police car, causing both cars to roll over. Both suspects ran after the crash, but were arrested later that night. The police officer was taken to the hospital with injuries, but the K-9 officer, Riddick, didn't survive. Riddick was a 3.5-year-old German Shepherd who served with the department for 2 years. Lieutenant Brad Childers says Riddick is the first K-9 to die in the line of duty. If you live in Boise, you may have noticed the plume of smoke by Lucky Peak last night. Well, if you thought it was a fire, you were right. The Bureau of Land Management says they're expecting to completely put out the 3-point fire, burning 6 miles southwest of Lucky Peak by tonight at 6. The fire burned around 760 acres before crews stopped it from spreading. BLM says no structures are threatened and they're still investigating what caused it. Speaking of fires, officials are offering an $8,000 reward for information on who started the Cow Valley Fire and other wildfires in eastern Oregon. That fire is burning south of Baker City. An investigation from the Vail BLM and Oregon State Fire Marshal found both the Cow Valley Fire and Bonita Fire were human-caused and suspicious. The Cow Valley Fire burned more than 133,000 acres in eastern Oregon earlier this summer, destroying buildings and killing livestock. If you have information, please call the number on your screen, 1-800-47-ARSON. Reminder, the Boise School Board is holding a public meeting today to address the surge of social media threats against schools across the Treasure Valley. It's at 5:30 tonight at the District Services Center. The district admin and BPD will be highlighting the district's safety and security procedures. If you can't attend, you can watch the live stream on the Boise School District's YouTube channel.
3, 2, 1.
And they're off. More than 13,000 people ran, walked, and strolled through Boise for St. Luke's Fit One race on Saturday morning. The annual event is all about promoting health in our community while raising money for St. Luke's Children's Hospital programs. And that's the 411 on the 208. I'm Abby Wilt.
You know, Idaho's known for its mountains, and if I asked you what is Idaho's tallest mountain, you might be able to tell me about Mount Bora and how its top is more than 12,000 feet above sea level. You might even be able to tell me there are 8 other peaks in Idaho above that elevation, and many people have climbed all of them. But did you know there are 115 Idaho mountains that are taller than 11,000 feet, and only a few have scaled all of those? Hunter Funk introduces us to one member of that exclusive group, and he shared his highs and lows of reaching such heights. And of course, now what?
Triple Peak, summit of Hidden Peak, Rocky Peak, summit of Mount Corruption, Wild Horse Canyon, Andromeda Peak.
There are 115 11,000-foot mountain peaks in the Gem State.
Here's the summit.
Adventure seekers call them 11ers.
All right.
And Jason Lee.
We did it!
He scaled all of them in just
3 years, 3 months, and 15 days.
What started this passion?
When the pandemic was going on and everything, I wanted to get into the outdoors, and so started hiking around East Idaho here and did Table Mountain over in Wyoming, and that was my first peak.
You're good. You're on video.
After that, his climbing peaked. He started big, hiking all 9 of Idaho's 12,000-foot mountain peaks, but the craving for adventure kept climbing. So it was time to take on the 11ers. He says among the hardest ascend,
That was a little bit scary climbing down that.
True Grit Peak.
We decided not to rappel.
And it only pertains to the last 100, 150 feet, where it's pretty much vertical and the rock is crumbling out from under you.
Dave, an avid hiker, keeps a running list on his website, Idaho Alpine Zone. The list consists of the people who have accomplished this feat over the last few years. Jason Lee is number 15.
This wouldn't have been possible without the mountaineering pioneers that went before me. I mean, they really made my job a whole lot easier when I'm literally able to walk in their footsteps.
What helped keep you, driven to finish this?
I did 24 years in the military, so goals were always a big thing there. And so I needed something to keep me in that mindset.
Jason Lee may be retired, but he plans to keep ascending to new heights.
Now what's next? I mean, this is a huge milestone. You've already got 12s, you got 11s. Now what?
So there's 362 10,000-foot peaks. So I'm gonna take on that endeavor, and that should probably take me probably 5 or 6 years. I'm projecting.
Get right, or let's get at her. This mountain ain't gonna climb itself.
All right, well, Jason Lee also takes other veterans out hiking. It's part of the Idaho Backcountry Veterans Group. He says it's key with helping with mental health and, of course, keeping active.
362 10,000-foot peaks. That's a lot.
Yeah.
I had no idea. And to classify them all. I noticed also that on that website, it said 114. So what is the discrimination here?
Yeah, so there's actually, this was really interesting when we were talking. He mentioned that, at first it was 114, but just recently it was resurveyed. Our mountains were resurveyed, and 2 of them were lowered below 11,000.
Okay.
And then 3 were upped. So it basically turned into 115. So
Is that like earthquakes Tectonic plate shifting, that kind of stuff,
Maybe the
I'm
rocks
guessing?
that they're stepping on and sliding under.
Sea levels rising?
Yeah,
That might be it too.
That's a great question.
All right. Thank you very much, Hunter.
You're welcome.
You know, team photos are really nothing new. How else would you know who's on the team, right? What is kind of new, at least in the last few years or so, is how quickly those photos can make the rounds, like around the globe. It's what happened 2 years ago this week. 2 years ago this week, when one tweet catapulted the Santa Clara men's cross-country team into viral status. What began as a mustachioed manifestation of improving team morale more than a decade ago has become an annual rite of passage for the Broncos. Of hirsute horror, you should say, or can say. And there's a new version this year. But first, we're going to give you the online attention the Bronco runners brought on themselves from just 2 years ago. Like a lot of things these days, it all started with one tweet. TB from Tulsa tweeting 3 days ago, "Santa Clara men's cross-country team is the most incredible thing I've ever seen." Well, 160,000 or so likes later, and a run through the roster, it's tough to argue that take. Sure, there's the cool comeback quaff of Dominic, but beyond that, it's a team page filled with facsimiles of smiles and hair don'ts. From the Dupree brothers to Spencer Fisher's stash, a handlebar that seems to be mishandled.
It's like a war leader or something like that, like a general. He just, yeah.
Oliver Brandon Upton looks like he just woke Upton. And Harvey Chilcott, or should I say Harvey Bolcutt, am I right? A scroll to the bottom of the page, you'll find two Boise boys, Nick Russell and Josh Simboli. You know, Josh didn't always look this way, like when he was helping set the school relay record at Timberline in 2019. A year before, Nick was Idaho's Gatorade Runner of the Year for Bishop Kelly. But those accolades pale in comparison to this new notoriety.
I don't think any of us expected it to blow up the way it did. It was definitely cool to have Sidious Mag do it for the second year in a row, and we were super pumped about that. But then for it to go like all over Twitter and have people making like TikToks about it and having like all these news articles has been like pretty surreal.
These roster pics began as a fanciful idea for facial hair about 10 years ago.
I never even thought of like trying to destroy my roster photos until I got here, and the guys were like, "Oh, it's a tradition, you have to do it." And we're like, "All right."
And that tradition has since taken a turn.
So are runners just odd dudes in general?
Yeah, definitely not like normal, I'd say. I think we bring out like the worst in each other too when it comes to like goofiness. We just, I don't know, one person does something and then we all get in on it. But yeah, everyone, like I said, everyone gets in a line and then it's just one right after another. And then you guys have seen the result. It just has a bunch of us looking like lunatics.
And the responses have been almost as crazy, like this description of Nick's pic.
My daughter says this dude is on his second divorce with 6 kids, 4 from their first wife, 2 from the second, and he lives in his car.
Yeah, definitely. People are getting creative with the roasts and everything. And that's been the trending comment, is that Nick looks like he's like 45.
Others look like they had a fight with their barber.
Yeah, it's a team photo, but you've stuck with it. Is it going to stay?
I don't know. Like I said, my mom will, she'll probably see this or read about it and be like, you need to shave, because she says she likes when she can see my face. So I guess the mustache and the longish hair doesn't really help that, but we'll see. We'll see. I'm liking it right now. I have no plans of shaving, but who knows? I might get an angry call from mom and need to shave it off.
But not if it's going to jeopardize the juju of the running season.
We got a really good team this year, so we're super excited to show people what we can do and, try to put ourselves on the map other than just goofy roster photos.
They did, too. In fact, Nick Russell, the fifth-year senior from Bishop Kelly High School that year, qualified for the NCAA championships 2 years in a row. He finished a program best in the 10,000 meters just last year. And as a team, they took home 12 all-academic awards in 2023. But this year, well, this year's different. They're back in the spotlight again, though, for guess what? Yep, they're headshots. And once again, there are 2 boys from Boise on the team, keeping the tradition running. New year, new team. Same portrait plug from Sidious Mag. No surprise, once again, the Santa Clara men's cross-country team roster photos deliver. Big time. Oh, because of the big hair? Or the bad parts in it? Was it the straight teeth, the snarled lips, or the crossed eyes? Is Jack just holding his breath because he saw something scary? Does anybody do cross-country headshots better? Not according to Santa Clara's newest teammates from Boise. Hello.
Hi.
Austin Clough, give you guys a little bit less headroom, and Caden Helder. Perfect. All right, real talk then. How much of a decision to go to Santa Clara did these headshots lure you guys into Santa Clara?
It was pretty huge for me. I mean, I think like just seeing that, even though it's a serious like D1 collegiate athletics team, like just that at the end of the day, they're just a bunch of guys who can be like a little bit unserious
and take seriously bad pictures.
I think we did a great job. I think one of my favorites out of all the roster photos was shout out McCoy Brooks. He's another freshman. 20 minutes before we actually took the picture, we took him outside of the arena that we were taking pictures in, and we shaved a circle around the top of his head and left the sides long.
Now, Austin, your cut, it just kind of swooped forward.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys noticed, but I'm like maybe 7 guys had like slits in their eyebrows. The night before, we were like, what should we do? And then somebody was like, let's slit our eyebrows. So we all were like, all right, we're in. I had the slit, and then I just pushed it over, and I just kind of was like, maybe I'll go for the Justin Bieber look, but then also make it a little awkward.
All right, Caden, what was your inspiration?
I honestly kind of took a little bit of inspiration from Nicholas Russell, who's another Boise guy, and I decided that I wanted to do that and then add on to it a little bit. So I just kind of put a bunch of hair gel in my hair and tried to do the best mohawk that I could. And then I also grew out the mustache for about like a month before and dyed it a little bit too dark the night before.
Why not keep the mustaches?
It just looks gross at the end of the day. Like I couldn't keep it any longer. I was ready to shave it off.
Personally, I can't grow a mustache yet. It's like way too blonde, way too thin. So
for Caden and Austin, that growth will come from the Santa Clara cross country camaraderie.
Being a part of a super talented team, I think like the future looks incredibly bright for us, and I think we're gonna shock a lot of people in the next couple of years.
Oh, we're shocked already. This will be Austin's second year on the team, Caden's first, and yes, their reputation precedes them. Recently at a meet in Minneapolis, just about a week or so ago, there was a lot of Santa Clara, wait, you're the guys with the headshots, right? But to be fair, and to kind of keep them humble, Austin told us they also get recognized as a school where basketball player Steve Nash went and played very well. The all-time leader in assists, played 18 years in the NBA, but he's also known as Captain Canada. He never had a Santa Clara headshot like these guys, although he was once known as Hair Canada, so there's that.
Well, let me just start out with the Boise weather extremes. Do you know what was the hottest day ever in Boise? According to the National Weather Service, 111 degrees, July 19th, 1960. What was the most snow? Now, keep in mind, this is the most snow in 24 hours. We probably had more in this in 2 or 3 days, but the most snow in 24 hours was 15.5 inches, February 2nd, 1916. The most rain in 24 hours was 2.5 on March the 29th, going back to 1916. So that was a long time ago. I don't remember any of those days. However, I can tell you that we do have some real extremes here in Idaho, especially for the heat. We didn't hit that 111. We certainly didn't do it today. See, 80 degrees for the high temperature in Boise, 77 degrees in Twin Falls. Now, in the next 7 days here in the forecast, you can see we are going to heat up. High pressure is going to come in, kind of dominate and take over all the way through Wednesday. I've got a few clouds in here because I've got to tell you that as we look at Wednesday, we don't have any isolated thunderstorms in the forecast. Most of it is going to be just to the north of us, so just be watching for that later on Wednesday night, as well as into Thursday. Thursday, as you notice here, temperatures are going to start dropping off. So because of that, by the time we get to Sunday and Monday, and that's talking about into the first part of next week, we're going to be seeing those temperatures dropping off at that particular time. And we're still going to be seeing the beautiful fall weather that we have right now with temperatures mainly into the 70s, Brian. So it's going to be looking pretty nice. For the most part, I think it's going to be dry.
Are you talking about those? Yeah, that looks nice. You talk about those weather extremes. 1916, what a crazy couple of months. Most snow, most rain from February to March. That's, I know you said you don't remember those days, but you've been around here a long time,
that's right.
Rick.
They fell asleep keeping those records, but they found them again. Yeah.
You haven't been around that long for sure, but you have been around quite a long time, and we're getting ready, sadly, to say goodbye to you at the end of this week. It's no secret we're down to the last few days of Idaho's chief meteorologist giving us our weather forecast. But as we begrudgingly make it to Thursday, we thought we'd share some of Rick's lesser-known memories, but those are some of his favorites.
It was.
Like this one right here.
Yeah, I started out in Weezer at KWEI Radio back in 1975, so I've been in the business for about 50 years or so. Okay. That's got to work. And so the big joke then was because it was such a tower, it's still outside of town, but they're not using it. Second floor had a bathroom, and that was the only bathroom in the whole place. Downstairs, hidden off to the side, was the broadcast booth.
Okay.
So the biggest joke from everybody was trying to get up there and come back down within a 2.5 minute record.
Before the song ended, so you could use.
You better watch what you eat when you start.
Was this kind of what you had to do?
John Miller and I just kind of showed this off one time when we went out and did just kind of a story on this, showing what we did to run upstairs, get to the bathroom, everything else, wash your hands.
Of course, wash the hands.
And then there's John's touch right there. Throw the toilet paper down the hallway. And we came on around, back to the booth, and there it is. The record had already run out. Now, I've got to tell you, to add to that, that's kind of my reoccurring dream, probably every 2 months to, twice a year or something like that.
Yeah.
So they say that that's probably unresolved issues or something. I don't really know. I just decided I'll remain crazy. I'm not going to find out what that's about.
So the record scratcher's a reoccurring dream. What about do you ever have a dream about coming in and not knowing what to talk about for the weather?
I've never done anything like that, but you know what's really good about it is the fact that it replaces the naked dream in front of an audience, which is probably what you have all the time, Brian. That you should check into.
That would be known as a nightmare, Rick.
That's it.
All right, we'll be right back.